Ramutshila, who is a distinguished finance leader whose professional journey is both inspiring and impressive, marked by her commitment to excellence. She set foot in the finance sector as a trainee accountant, and her dedication has seen her to becoming a technical manager role within the firm audit division. In 2016, she embarked on a new chapter with the Nedbank Group, taking on the role of being a IFRS Special Projects Advisor, which soared her career and ascended the ranks from being a finance manager to the head of finance for Group Business Service and Group Human Resources. Mbali has accumulated accolades, gaining her respect and admiration of her colleagues and peers. After qualifying as a chartered accountant in record time, she pursued her master's in international accounting at the University of Johannesburg and produced a dissertation titled A Comparative Analysis of African Bank Credit Risk Disclosure. Her pivotal role in the implementation, reporting and disclosing IFRS standards gained her recognition from the JSE Monitoring Panel for Excellence in Disclosure. And most recently, she obtained her Executive Development Program certificate from the University of Cape Town. Now, outside of her tremendous professional life, Mbali is a family-orientated woman who cherishes time spent with her loved ones. She's an avid reader and hiker who enjoys the simple pleasure of life. Mbali is also driven and deeply committed in giving back to her community through mentoring aspiring chartered accountants and engaging in volunteer work in the Netball Club in Tembisa. Now, ladies and gentlemen, she is not only the speaker for our day today, but allow me to call you the founder and not host. Yeah. She is the founder and the reason why we have all gathered here. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to give honor as we stand to welcome Mbali Ramutshila.
Thank you so much. I think Nompumelelo has done a wonderful job introducing me, so I will not go any further in giving any other aspects. I have this emotional introduction. He's really nice, right? Today we're going to talk about a topic that is very close to my heart: personal finance management. And it's close to my heart purely for two reasons. I have seen how we shy away from conversations about money. Yes. Even in our dinner tables, we sit with our friends, but rarely do we ever talk about money. It feels as if it's wrong, sis It feels as if it's wrong for me to understand a little bit better. How can I also improve? I don't know, like it feels like it's secrets. For me, the more I uncovered and I unearthed, everything there was to unearth and understand about personal finance, I realized actually it's not a secret. And we should stop behaving like it is a secret. So today, allow me to walk with you guys through this journey and share some of my lessons, some of my unpacking and understanding of personal finance management. I think if I speak to where also the passion came from, it stemmed from two things. I remember when I graduated from varsity, similar to Cisco, I had a quick realization that I needed to be a proper deputy parent. You know, being a deputy parent, what it means. For some, they call it, black taxi, they call it interesting words. But I found that for me, it was more a privilege because I got to step into a role that actually I found the Lord used to enable me and to make me this person that you see today. If you think I'm a great leader, it's because of that very role. If you think I'm empathetic, it's because of that very role. If you think I've learned and mastered how to manage my personal finances, it's because of that very role. Had it not been that role, this Mbali that you know and see here today would not exist. So sometimes the areas in our lives that we deem as struggles, as we deem them to be of strife, just check what are they teaching you. And when Google said that we didn't share notes, guys, we didn't share notes. If something sounds like what Google said, it's maybe something you should be taking note of. If it sounds like something that Annelise said, or Nompumelelo said, or it resonates, actually be taking note. It might be that seed that you need for today. So, like I said, I became a deputy parent, and I had this privilege of also having to be a financial provider to my family. But what for me became important was in this little salary. I don't know, for those that have gone into being a trainee accountant, I'm glad since Google didn't become an auditor. Because that money that we earned there, hey girl, it was good because that's where we had to start, right? But it wasn't like a lot, but I had to make way and room for everything else that I needed to make room for in my life. What I also quickly realized is that when we are at school, we study corporate finance management, not necessarily personal finance management. We are taught very quickly how can you make sure that your business or the business that you're going to work for has a profit, you report well, everything, you account well, everything. So we are good at that. But we are never taught to take that very same knowledge and then reflect it and apply it in our own lives and in our own circumstances. But today, guys, I'm just going to put that learning together with, us individually. How does it come together? Awesome. So if my slides look like they've got a lot of coins and money, guys, I'm just speaking money into your lives. Speaking money. And not just money that comes, that meter that we all pray for, but then we misuse it. And I think that's why most of us are not even getting that meter. We misuse it, or we don't even know what to do with it. But I'm going to speak also to a few building blocks when it comes to personal financial management. There's savings, there's estate planning. I won't mention what savings are because most people in the room know what they are. But estate planning, have you ever thought about that when you are just reflecting on your finances? Do you have a will?
Yes.
What happens to you, or what happens to your finances the day that you pass on? What's your legacy pertaining to your finances? We're going to speak to budgeting. There's also the insurance part. I know we just think, it's an extra cost, but the purpose of insurance is to basically ensure that any risk that you have on your assets any risk that you have on your salary, because we do know that there's also more disability insurance now. But why did they create it? And why are you then supposed to take it? There's also the conversations around debt management. If I look at the statistics of debt, just in our own country, we've got 64 million. And over 64% of those 64 million people are currently in debt. And they're not managing with their debt. So it tells you that there's also something wrong. We would give you financing, but let's be careful in terms of, as we are accepting different financing from all these financial institutions, do we then understand what we are taking up? There's also financial goals. Do you know that at the beginning of the year when you set goals, some of them are even linked to your finances? Do you ever look at the two and think, here actually girl, the fact that you want to travel means money. The fact that you want to give, to Andile's organization means money. Whatever you're doing that has money connected to it, it's your financial goals. So don't then separate the two. There's also going to be conversations around tax strategy. But it's rather a building block. Tax strategy, I find that most people, we also don't understand it, because we just think, hey, there's a tax man, they eat our money. But there's ways of actually avoiding tax. Don't be fraudulent, guys. I'm not teaching you. But there are tax strategies, guys. How to invest in the right products. If I can just ask for those that have started saving, do you have a tax-free savings account? Like already, that's a known tax saving strategy. Do you have it? Or where now you're just thinking, no, it feels like I'm poor if I invest in a tax-free savings account. No, you're not. But you're being smart. You're realizing it's a benefit that the government has put in place. Even if for them, they're also saying they're trying to encourage saving. But you should also look at it and think, actually, it's benefiting me. It's a form of a tax strategy. And then we have investing. I know a lot of people love that topic. Investing, saving, those are the two topics. If you're gonna talk about money, tell me how I should make more money. Wara wara, we're gonna get there, but you're gonna see. I water them down a bit, purely on the basis I know most of us research that more than all the other topics that are here. And then there's also retirement planning. I remember when I started being a trainee accountant, guys, a very skinny one at that 23, and you now being told you have to have, a retirement plan, and I'm thinking, am I not too young? Why am I already thinking about retirement planning? But actually, if you look at the cost of living and the rate at how things are becoming costly every day, if you have not started, please, for the guys who are going to be varsity students, ask Old Mutual, ask any other service provider out there if you can save 100 Rand towards your retirement. Those that are working will tell you that the amount that you're saving or contributing together with what your employer is contributing on your behalf, sometimes you look at it after a quarter, you're like, oh, it didn't move, Moss. Yeah. That's how you feel. And if you think about it, if you're only going to start when you are 30, when you feel like, yeah, I'm now settled, I've got a proper career, guys, it's going to be too late. And sometimes we say this, it sounds like it's a scare tactic or something like that. But actually, engage with some people that are already working, that have these statements, that can be open with you guys and show you, guys, the money actually doesn't move. And retirement plans come in different ways. Also having an entrepreneurial endeavor is also some form of a retirement plan. So guys, let's maybe just hold it there. These are the key building blocks when it comes to personal financial management. We'll start where we have to start. Budgeting, aka spend plan. So in the room, especially for all those of us that work, do we have some form of a budget?
Yes.
Right? And I judge because they say yes. They say yes with confidence. So what is a budget game? I'm a teacher by profession. So I'll have my mic roaming around. So what is a budget? I had a lot of yeses when I asked. Okay, Cindy, we'll start there.
Can I explain?
Yes.
So it's expected for me to consume of my sister. But budgeting for me, the understanding is, you know that you're gonna, for abasebenzayo, get a certain money or salary. Then uyayihlukanisa ukuthi how is this money gonna be spent, and ule month oyabo. I think it's simple kanjalo, how you are going to spend the money that you're gonna receive.
As simple as that, guys. It's nothing hectic. It's exactly that. The money that you have, how are you going to spend it? Hence, I said AKA spend plan. You know, it is exactly that. How are you going to spend your money? But budgeting is very important. Those that work with me, my colleagues in that table, which I won't point by hand, but you can see where my head is leaning towards. They know we go through the longest budgeting cycle ever in the corporate that we work for. But you realize the importance of thoroughly budgeting. You see, when it comes to the spending part, that's the easy part. But the most difficult part, the part that is the most important, it's the budgeting part. Because that's where you tell your money, this is where you're gonna go. This you are not doing. You put boundaries in place. That's why you have a budget. And I find that most of us, we do not want to budget, but we want to spend. And then why is my money finished in 2 days?
Yes.
Even if you gift someone with a gift when I see school, you're 5,000, it's a waste. Rather just buy them a Chanel bag or whatever you want to buy them. Why am I saying even gifting someone money? Because I find that they're not even going to think through what they should do with their money. So tell your money where to go. But how do you tell it? You sit with it and you tell it. When 10 rand, we are up higher. When 50 rand, we are up higher. Ganja. So I mean, you can read all the other definitions, but yeah, you wanna effectively manage your finances, guys. I think that is very important. If you don't tell your money where to go, it will tell you where to went. Yeah. I know it's a very nice conversation. Last one, yeah? Leave the best for last. Yeah, now we are sobering minds. We are highly motivated that we're gonna be entrepreneurs. And I like what Mrs. Gugu said. I divert a bit. She said, keep your personal life versus your entrepreneurial endeavors separate, which is true. If you create a budget plan for your organization or your entrepreneurial endeavors, it should be separate from the budget that you have for your personal self. The two should be different. They are not one and the same. These are two different entities. There's the entity Mbali as an individual, then there's the entity which is the organization that I run. So ensure that you separate the two. So what are some of the budgeting principles that I have used over time and I've found have worked for me and have enabled me to achieve some of the goals that I look at and I'm like, oh girl, you achieved that, you know? So one of the goals that I've achieved that I sometimes look at and I'm like, I don't know how I did it, because I wasn't just, trying to get through that goal, but I was also ensuring that I take care of my family. And we know when you take care of your family, there's certain things like what's in Sipawa He I'll be now. That thing you already know, you don't have it. You know? So I love calling it Msipawa He, it's a muscle for saying no. It becomes, I don't know, even people that have children, that muscle for saying no, yeah, gray area. But you find ways of actually balancing it. But what I wanted to say was, I had a financial goal. A financial goal was, I'm going to acquire a home for me and my family to live in. But in 5 years, I want to finish paying off for that home. Like I was clear on that goal. But I knew very well the salary I was earning, Mara, the goal was clear. That was not the only thing. I knew that I wanted to ensure that, you know, my siblings are also afforded the opportunity to be able to go and study whatever they want. My siblings and I can be able to go on vacations if you want to go. You see, guys, I'm a big dreamer. You know, I'm a big dream, and I write all of these things down. But what was important for me was to be very smart about those goals. You know, this principle, yes, smart, Annalise will tell you because she's a teacher, she'll even explain it a bit better, but it's important. It's important in all the goals, whether you just having just a vision for your life or financial goals, same principle applies. So I had those smart goals to say, in 5 years, I'll do this. So meaning I knew that, okay, this is what I wanted to attain, when will I attain it? And then what was important was, how was I gonna measure that I've attained it? How was I gonna measure that I've attained finishing paying off a bond? Hey, there's no debit order the next month. That's how I would have known, right? So no, how are you gonna ascertain that you've achieved a certain goal? For example, those that are trying, for example, like me, to gain a six-pack nyana. Ideally, you put a goal and say, going forward, you know, you'll do all these things to enable you to have a six-pack. You know, how are you gonna know that you've attained that six-pack? Must be visible, you know? Yeah, you stand in the mirror there. Good. That's how you know that you've attained it. So that's exactly it. Before you can start budgeting, look at all your financial goals. Don't let your financial goals surprise you during the year with, oh, I said I actually also wanted to buy a fridge. And then now you're like, oh, okay, how can I squeeze it into my budget plan? No, guys. You start with, what are my financial goals? Are they realistic? Do they make sense? Are they attainable? Do I have the financial means to be able to achieve this? If not, how can I better fund some of these things? The other thing, like I said, always be realistic. Like I told you guys, I had these big dreams, right? But then I said, what was realistic? Okay, what was realistic was that potentially we're not gonna go on vacations with my siblings. I want them, guys. I would love them. But what is more important, I'll start with ensuring that they go to school. I'll ensure that we have a home, right? And it's fully paid off. So then we'll shift outwards a bit the goals of actually traveling and all of that. So now I've started becoming realistic. I have these goals, they're quite big, they're clear, I'm sure that I can even be able to measure them, but are they realistic right now, based on what I have? I mean, some of the students in the room, is it realistic that you'll be driving a Porsche? You know, unless you come from a well-off family, they're buying it for you. Yeah, but if it's through the pocket money that your parents are giving you, highly unlikely that it's going to be possible for you to just easily buy yourself one. Also, a budget is on paper. For those that are good in Excel, use your Excel. There's also apps for budgeting. Guys, not in the mind. The mind forgets. The mind forgets. You've got, I don't know how you want to budget, but I would even encourage that you don't just budget for 1 month. Budget for the whole year. Budget for 24 months ahead. Some of our goals are not attainable only in a year. Like I said, I wanted to finish off paying a house within 5 years. So clearly my budget plan had to look out into year 5. So it could not have been with our budget only in my mind. Also have a flexible budget, guys. Life happens. So have a very flexible budget. And I'll show you ways on how to maneuver your budget a bit. Budgeting is also a continuous process. I'll go back to the example because it might resonate with some of my colleagues. They know we just budgeted just now in August. We are budgeting now again in January. Why? It's an iterative process. What has changed? What in your circumstances have changed? Now look at your life and say, in August, this is what I thought. These were my inflows. Okay, now it has changed. If I used to have 5 inflows, now I only have 1 inflow. How does that influence the budget going forward? Allow your budget to be a continuous process. So sit with your money daily, sit with your money monthly, but make sure that you have conversations with yourself about your money. I know we are back in class, guys. And the reason why it has to come like this is because we don't necessarily have these conversations. But yeah. Okay. This is obviously my Excel. You can tell I'm a typical accountant. If it looks very tiny, it's because it's very tiny, but I'll try and walk you through it. I'm happy to share the Excel format should one want to have it. You can email me after the session. So basically what I show in the top rows, I show the inflows, what income is coming in, right? Am I getting money as profit from the business? Am I getting dividends? Am I getting rental income? Whatever it is, right, that you're getting. Is it a salary? That's all your income. You put it based on what you are expecting for the rest of the year, right? Based on expectation. Then you say, okay, then what are the expenditures that I need to take out against this income that I have? We know that we have fixed costs, and your fixed costs would be things like every month you know that you have to pay, for example, an installment for a car, a bond. It's there, you have no choice, you have to pay, right? If you have taken insurance out also against that house, insurance maybe, for example, you have a funeral cover for your parents and yourself, that is also a fixed expense that you would then cover. The reason I separate the fixed component as well as the variable is dependent on you. That's where also most of the flexibility comes in. And that's where you need to build in a lot of flexibility in your budget. The reason I put a pie chart on the side was also to show you that based on, if you read research, they say that a budget split guide is that 50% of your income should go towards your needs, 30% should go towards your wants, and then 20% should go towards your savings. Of course, I differ. It's a guide, right? A guide is exactly that. Make it work for you guys. You know where your circumstances are. And that's why I would always say, allow your budget to be flexible. In 1 month, these ratios could look different. In another month, they could look another way. But I think at most, what they're encouraging is that don't overly spend or get into the 90s such that you don't have anything that you're saving. I think this is more what this guide is for. Ensure that it's quite realistic, it's reasonable, you have something that you're saving. Awesome. What you will see, there's 2 months there that have red, which is August. That's my birthday month. Maybe it's showing red because I was buying myself a gift or something, we don't know. And then we also have October month that's also showing a bit of an overspend. What happened there? In one of the months, you're buying something that you hadn't planned for. Like you need an iron, you don't have emergency funds. Now you are using the very same monthly income to try and fund something that you didn't plan for. The other one in October, it's where you find yourself, you get hospitalized, your medical aid doesn't cover everything. Now you have to pay out of pocket. When life happens, it happens, right? So now you are funding out of the very same income, but you see you're now in a deficit position, meaning you don't even have enough income in that month to fund everything. So what are you going to do? I know some might opt for debt, right, to help cover some of this, but I'm also going to come with something a little bit more different. Let's look at the next slide. The next slide, this is where I'm saying you've got certain financial goals. And in those financial goals, you say you want to have an emergency fund of 40,000 by the end of the year, and then you also want to buy a fridge in November. You will see I have two highlights, baby blue, there at the bottom in the variable expenses area. If you look at those two, the reason why I haven't shown them as an actual expense, it's purely on the basis that I'm saying you're going to fund them from an emergency fund or your maintenance savings account. This is where I say saving is actually very important. Because why are you saving? You're saving for a rainy day. You're saving for when you need a fridge. I'm actually saving there at the top so that when I need a fridge, it doesn't come out of my normal monthly income. Because you can see actually your monthly income doesn't get you very far. But if you start thinking and start planning, that actually I know that I had this fridge for 7 years, surely it's gonna die on me at one point. So therefore, I need to plan for that. Your medical expenses as well. You don't know what life brings, so have emergency funds. I love one of the guys who talks a lot on finances, Dave Ramsey. He says that when you have emergency funds, you should be able to pay yourself the same salary that your company pays you for at least 6 months.
Sure.
At least 6 months. So if you earn 100K per month, you should have emergency fund of 600K. At least, guys, minimum, bare minimum. It's not even the worst case scenario. Yeah, so like I'm saying, for some of these variable expenses, especially those things that happen unexpectedly, try and save up as much as you can, especially on the good days. You get a bonus, you get a dividend, you get an extra birthday gift. I'm not saying don't spoil yourselves, guys. I'm not saying, what's the English word? Be stingy on yourself. Don't hear me right. But I'm saying, think about the rainy day. It will come, and when it comes, do you have a raincoat? Basically ask yourself that. And your emergency fund is basically your raincoat when the storm or rain or hail comes. Awesome. All right. And when you then look at the pie, like I said, it's basically trying to reflect, based on the current budget that we have, how much of it is actually savings versus how much of it is not savings. And what you will see there, savings or investments is only 14%. But when you look at the previous picture, the savings or investment were 25%. So you always want to have a higher percentage going into your savings or investments, guys. Like, that's what you ultimately want to strive for. And hence, you will reduce the amount of expenses that you have. Now let's go into another conversation. We had this conversation with my younger sister the other day. We need to know all our expenses. One thing that I find is that most of us know all the big expenses, but we don't know the small ones that keep creeping up. You're swiping. Every time you're at a garage, you swipe. Now you don't know those. I mean, also it feels petty to be tracking this. I just bought an LH8. It feels petty, like it's quite petty. But how about you do it this way instead? You say, I'll give myself an allowance of 200 a month. So whatever I want in terms of sweeties, in terms of coffee, whatever, I know that it's 200. So then in your budget, it's accounted for. Right? Because it's quite petty, guys. I just bought a bubble gum, now I have to write bubble gum 14 rand. It feels silly. But if you say every week I'm giving myself 200, then I can spend it anyhow. Then at least you're sorted. Your small expenses, they won't creep up on you. Because by the time you look at your bank statement, You're like, how did I get into deficit? And you keep getting reminders that, hey, please, look at your balance. You are now in negative. But it's because of these small things. Awesome. Okay, cool. Now let's talk about the other elephant in the room, debt. For the guys that have not started, run. Run! And can I just give you something that sometimes we think, being liberated, living away from your family is the best thing. It's nice. But if after varsity there's no clear plan, go back home, start small and build yourself up. No need to get into expenses, guys, that are unnecessary. Just a sisterly advice, but we are not there. Awesome. What is that? Basically, you owe someone money.
Yes.
Yeah. I took Nompumelele's money, therefore I need to pay her at some point. We will have some form of an agreement of how much I need to pay her. But in the case of financial institutions, we know you don't just pay them exactly what they offered you. Ne? There's a interest. Yeah. Spice there. And depending on the type of debt that you take out, the spice looks different for everyone. They even look at you, that's where now your credit score, because it's you, that very low near 100K, I'll give it to you at 25%. Mara, I'll give it to this one at 5%. There's those things, guys. So just be aware of those things. Famous methods. There's the snowballing method, and then there's also the avalanche method. What does this basically mean? So we'll talk to the first one. If you've got, let's say, 4 types of debt that you have. Perhaps let's say you've got a clothing account, a furniture store account, you've got a personal loan, and you've got a home loan. I think you can all see the amounts associated with those different types of loans. What you can say, in the initial year, if you look at the light green table in the first column, that's all the payments that you have to do on a monthly basis for each account. So let's say, for example, your clothing account, you pay 200 per month, 500 for the furniture store, 1,500 for the personal loan, maybe 8,000 Rand then for your home loan. So that's what you pay. But if you want to then accelerate some of your payments and reduce some of your debt, the snowballing method says that actually you can first finish paying off your clothing account. So that's your aspiration. Say for the next 5 months, I'm just going to focus on fully paying off my clothing account. And once you're done with that, you don't now start saying, yeah, those 200s are now going to be mine. No, you take that 200, you top up on what you used to pay for the furniture store, right? But you always start with your lowest debt amount. You clear it out. Then you go to the second lowest debt, you then clear it. But you keep rolling that amount. You don't now take that amount that you used to pay for a different debt to now kind of service a different need or desire, right? So yeah, that's what you do. So by the time you get into column 3, you can see the money that used to be used to pay for the furniture store and the clothing account is now all being used to pay for your personal loan. So I think, guys, that's quite a simple example, but it works. And it only works if you become intentional. You plan for it, and it goes into your budget. And I'll keep mentioning financial goal, budget, everything.
Disconnected.
Don't disconnect from the message. Don't disconnect from the message. Okay, cool. So then
Disconnected.
Awesome. The avalanche method. The avalanche method, what's different? The avalanche method looks at the debt that has the highest interest. That's the one that you will settle first. Like I said, we don't all get charged the same. Me and Jackie might go into the same bank. We are both females, both same age, both same story, same problem. Mara, Jackie will get the loan, and they'll charge her 10%, me 25%. Credit check, like I said, just look at those, study that. It's a topic for another day altogether, but just be mindful of those things. So what the avalanche method says, it works the same in terms of how you pay off, but it says you start with the one with the highest interest. The reason why it says that, it's because the higher your interest, the more expensive your debt becomes.
Yes.
So be mindful of that. Even if they say you afford it, just look at that interest and just say, Lord, actually, yay, I don't afford it. You know? But yeah, just be mindful of those things, that the higher the interest, it becomes more expensive. And then, yeah, you'll try and settle it accordingly in terms of, you'll finish off your personal loan first, whatever you used to pay for your personal loan, then you go to the second one, you set off your clothing account, etc., etc. So let's chat about some considerations for savings. I think I've already mentioned the concept of an emergency savings account. Have it, guys. Have it. Because when lives, you want to be able to have some form of a plan, right, in place. And then also remember that there's a difference between savings and investing. I think sometimes you might even think you are investing, but actually you are still in the saving category. Be mindful of those things, Be mindful also of the types of products that can, yield, or let me step back. Be mindful of the different types of financial products, because some of them look the same and you might think you are actually investing, but you are only still investing. But let's just speak to some of the just small nuances you can look at. Look at the term. If you can make great money out of it, always run away from such schemes, guys. If it can be like great 20% returns and all of those funny things, run away from such schemes, guys. I just needed to mention that because I know a lot of people that go for these schemes that, promise people the world. There is no world that comes easily. Even in finances, the principle that you wait, become patient, it applies. So when your savings or what you've put aside is more for the short term, it's more a savings. But then if whatever you put aside is for a longer term, then we can start considering that as more of an investment. Especially when you then go into the investment category, it's also important that you understand your risk appetite. What's your risk appetite? How much money are you willing to lose, basically? That's, if I can explain it simply to you guys. I know most of us love investing, but we are always only thinking about the return. How much will I get back? But also ask yourself, how much am I willing to lose or forgo? So the minute you put 20,000 into, let's say you buy a stock of Mbali Limited, right? You buy shares at Mbali Limited. And those shares you are expecting, let's say, a return of maybe, let's say, 13% from them. It's good. But how much are you willing to lose? If Mbali goes into a scandal and her share price keeps going down and down and down, whatever value you initially put out for that share is no longer, it's no longer there, it's no longer reflecting because the share price keeps going down. So how much are you willing to lose? So just be mindful of that. And that's where investing becomes very important. Most of the investment products look at your risk appetite. Whereas with your savings, normally you get your capital back as it is because you're not trying to go in with a lot of risk appetite. There's generally low risk appetite there. Like I said, financial goals are your cornerstone together with budgeting, even when it comes to savings and investment. If you're going to put your mind and say, listen, I'm going to buy rental property because I want to now start, earning rental income, you can set your mind to that, but put it in your budget that out of my own salary, I'm going to start doing that because it's possible. Okay. Like I said, if returns are too good to be true, most likely, yeah, they are too good to be true. And don't fall for it. These are products. I mean, I think I'm happy to share the slides so that you guys go through them by yourselves. I don't want to go through each one because some of them become very technical, and I do believe you might want to sit with your laptop or your other researching material so that you're able to go through each and every one of them. But what's important when you also look at where to invest, look at your initial capital required to invest. That's the difference with most of the investing platforms. For example, a lot of us know Easy Equity, right? Mm-hmm. Why is Easy Equity famous? It's because the initial entry or capital required is close to nothing. You don't have to have money to invest. You don't have to have money to have shares. 350 guys gets you shares in someone's company. Yeah. So that's basically what they have found plays to their strength. And then there are other trading platforms, guys, which you can also research. But just be mindful of the entry capital required for anything that you want to invest in. And here I've only put in mostly financial products. And we know that it's not always that we will invest in financial products. You can invest in land, you can invest in rooms and you rent them out. There's a lot that you can invest in. But just look at what works for you, do the thorough research, and if it's too good to be true, simple principle. What are the key takeaways today? There's a famous old saying. If you do not plan, you plan to fail. If you do not budget, guys, you will not succeed in your finances. Even if I give you $1 million here, you will not succeed. Millions mean nothing if there's no clear plan outline. Do you think big organizations would be standing today if there was no clear outline or plan? Do you know one other secret that we have? If the plan doesn't look like the outcome we desire, we go back. Because we've got financial goals also as an organization. The financial goals will say, this is where we want to land at the end of the year. Now, where do you want to land? Does your budget reflect that? That's my second key takeaway. Your budget should reflect your priorities. If your priorities are clothes, your budget will reflect that. If your priorities is food, Lord help me on that one. But it you know what your priorities are. If it's travel, it reflects that. If it's reducing the debt that you currently have, it will reflect that. If you aim this year, you know what? You're going on a financial diet. That's what I sometimes like to call it. I'm going on a financial diet. You know, these other things that I like doing, the sexy things, I'm not indulging in those for the next 12 months because I'm trying to save towards something else. That's what my budget will show. That's the reason we also have a budget. It tells you what your priorities are. Savings, guys, is not the last thing that you do. You don't get your income and you do everything else but save. It's not the last thing that you do. That's why you have a budget, so that it becomes part of the thing, the core thing. It's not the last thing that you do. For those that know themselves that they are not disciplined, start putting a recurring, debit order every month. Start even with 100 Rand. And I know sometimes when you say savings, someone thinks, no, for me to save, I need 5,000, then I can put aside. Start with 100 Rand. Be faithful with the little. Then you'll be faithful with the more. And lastly, cash is king. This one I learned at school, but I'm telling you, apply it also in your life. And I say this, I do not pay for a bond anymore. I achieved that goal. Remember that goal that we talked about? And this is to tell you guys, it's possible. It's possible also to live debt-free, if that's the choice you want to choose. But it comes at a cost. Cost being boundaries cost being sometimes you need to sacrifice certain things. Sometimes it means you might delay buying a BMW whilst, you know, one of the comments I got was, hey, Mara, you guys qualified at the same time, but so and so is driving this, wara wara. But I chilled because I knew my financial goals and I knew the budget plan, you know, that I had. So cash is king. I apply this a lot in my life, and I think, you know what, if you're gonna have true financial liberation, cash is king. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Sisi Mbali. I think we all have something to go home and reflect. You know, we need to look at our money and we need to, you know, account better for our money. And so really, there's a whole lot of things that we can implement from what we have learned today. And I hope that it will be a goal for us to be financially savvy, right? All right, so I believe that at this point of the program, we have really been given so many skills to steward the resources that we have, all right? But if there's still some knowledge gaps or points of interest, now we are going to open for a 15-minute Q&A, right? So you can get to speak to our speakers. If you have any questions that were not answered, now is your opportunity to present those questions, right? So I'm going to ask our three beautiful ladies to come to the forth.